Good evening, Vancouver. Welcome back to Canucks After Dark. It is our first post-game Canucks After Dark of the year here on Monday, October 28th. Canucks fall to the Hurricanes, but have won 4 in a row before that and still get a point, so not all is lost. As always, joined by my co-host, Canuck Clay. How are we doing today, Clay?
Parker, I'm great. Thank you for allowing me, or at least stalling for 15 minutes, letting me get to my office. You're right, because it's the first post-game Monday night show that we're doing after a Canucks game. No time to get home to Richmond, so I cut the difference in half. I'm in my beautiful office in central Vancouver. Goofy webcam, different microphone, but we're going to make it work as we always do, right, brother?
Excellent. No, we'll make it work. Yeah, Monday night game. Well, there's only a handful this year, more than last year, I think, because they're doing the prime Monday night ones. So we have a couple of those to deal with, but that's okay. We'll make them work when we get to them. We're only 16, 17 minutes late, which isn't too bad.
Not bad at all.
3 Canucks games over the past week. A long break between the first one and the second one. Canucks played the Blackhawks last Tuesday. Didn't play again until Saturday. And then obviously played tonight. 3 teams, 2 of them that they should beat most of the time. One of them that should give them a good fight most of the time. Didn't look like it tonight. The Canucks really, came out, looked good against Chicago, looked pretty good against Pittsburgh, and then looked pretty bad for the first half of tonight's game against Carolina, but killed off a 5-on-3 and really sort of built from there.
Yeah, entertaining game. And I will say, let's give ourselves, Parker, a collective pat on the back. One of us said 2-1. One of us said 2-0-1. So basically, one of us nailed it. One of us was 1 point away. So we got this week pretty darn good, I think.
Excellent. Yeah, we're
smart.
We've just been optimistic, and the team's been good for the last year and a little bit.
And we're still 3 games over 500, right?
Yeah. What, the Canucks are 4-1-3 at this point. So you'd love to have more wins. Technically they've won 4, lost 4, but to have lost the same amount as you've won, but to be 3 games above 500 is a pretty good result. They just need to figure out how to win in overtime. That's the big
you're gonna have to tell me. I don't know. We'll go in order. I did not see a replay of the game winning goal, the overtime goal. So I don't know if Miller messed up or there's a bad line change, or you can tell me when we get to it. But yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't great defense, frankly. Maybe they should have put 2D out there. Like the Canes did to start that overtime period. The Hurricanes went 2D and then immediately switched it up once they won the faceoff. But maybe that's a good strategy, because the Canucks never touched the puck in overtime in this game. So how do you want to do this? Do we want to start with the game that just happened, or do we want to do our standard go in order?
Yeah, I think because the game just happened, it's fresh, and people probably it's fresh on their minds. Let's go reverse. Whatever. As long as we start with the Carolina game.
Let's go reverse order. That sounds fun. Pretty rough start for the Canucks this game.
Yeah.
Carolina came out fresh. They came out quick. They came out, outshot the Canucks 13-5 in the first period, and were frankly they looked a lot faster, right? They looked like a team that was fresher. Not that they should be, right? The Canucks had 4 days off and then had a home game and then had a full day off and then played tonight. They should have been fresh. They should have been ready from opening puck drop. And they really weren't. But the Canes come out. They score about 6 minutes in. It's a pretty nice goal. Jackson Blake, who I guess is like the son or the nephew of Rob Blake, they were saying on the broadcast. Pass goes across the ice, gets sort of tipped. And William Carrier, whatever his name is, sort of fires it through Lankinen, and it hits him right on the cuff of the glove, which is unfortunate. He got a piece of it and gets through. But I mean, that was their 6th shot of the game, 6 minutes in, and the Canucks had won at that point, right? The ice was clearly tilted to start that game.
It was like almost a carbon copy of the last 6 minutes of the game, where it's tilted for Vancouver. But yeah, a very, very bad start. And I'll save my point about the Carolina forwards until we talk about their second goal in a couple of minutes. But it was certainly a marked difference for me in the way that even the forwards look out there. But I'll save that for 2 minutes from now.
Yeah, no, it was just a good start for Carolina. Canucks did answer though, and that's been something that they've been good at all year. It's a Besser goal. This is just a really nice play by JT Miller. Kochetkov was remarkably aggressive tonight at every moment that he had. He goes out and sort of challenges JT Miller, loses his crease a little bit. Miller takes it around the net. Kochetkov loses his stick because Miller sort of skates into it because he stuck it out there, frankly. And Besser just sneaks into the slot, doesn't make any mistake there. So pretty quick answer, which was nice to see.
Yeah, this is the goal. And Parker, a couple of them are saying that I'm either too loud or you're too quiet. Is that something that you can fix on your end, or I can turn?
Opposite, so I turned myself down.
Yeah, you can turn yourself up again. Yeah.
I misread the comment that said I was too quiet.
No, I think so. Let us know, guys, in the chat. We appreciate. We're doing this on the fly from a different location, so let us know. We're happy to take that feedback. This is becoming Besser's kind of bread and butter goal, isn't it? Just kind of finding that soft spot in the middle of the ice and having someone dig out a puck and get it to him. And he still got that great release, and that was a good goal. And it was our three hottest players right now combining on it.
Yeah, and then the Canes kept the pressure on again for the majority of that period. Like we said, they outshot them 13-5. This was one that just happened so fast. Canucks lose sort of win the faceoff, but Hughes gets it deep, and then just it gets fired around. It's a failed pinch on the far side by Hronek. It comes out, and the centerman here for the Canucks just isn't coming back, and it's a very quick 2-on-1. Hughes commits to breaking up the play from the guy with the puck, fires it across to Natchez, who is basically in alone and scores. It's obviously, I think I missed the disallowed goal as well in there. That made it 2-1, and it was just a quick sloppy play. That's how good Carolina is, right? They're a quick team. They can jump on you quick if you're not paying attention.
Yeah. And this is where I'll make my point. Thank you, Parker. The Carolina Hurricanes forwards, they look big compared to the Canucks forwards, and they look fast. Like this goal, right? You saw Kotkaniemi get it at the corral at the blue line, and Natchez just so smooth, so skilled. And even that Robinson guy on their line who I've never heard of, he's 6'2". I'm looking at this: Natchez 6'3", Robinson 6'2", Stahl 6'4", Svechnikov 6'3", Kotkaniemi 6'3". So they just at the game, Parker. I don't know if you'd agree with me watching on TV. The Canes forwards look big, but they can skate and they're skilled. And that's why I think it was such a marked difference for the first two periods of the game that the Canes forwards just seemed to be outplaying the Canucks forwards. I don't know. It was just an observation I had. Do you agree with that? Did you notice it, or maybe I'm reading too much into it?
It didn't necessarily stand out to me. They're quick. They're definitely quick.
Okay.
That is their bread and butter. It's the ability to just quickly get down the ice and catch you sleeping, right? And usually Hughes is not the guy. I mean, it's kind of Hronek more so in that case, but usually that's not the pairing that you've been catching sleeping so far this year, right? The Canucks have been dominating with that pair on the ice compared to every other pair. But it just, that was a quick one that went the other way. And forgot to mention the disallowed goal, which was unfortunate. Canucks did have a lead for about 45 seconds before the challenge. And that was the play where Baines essentially sort of crashed the net and it found its way in.
So in the arena, we thought that they were going to disallow it because the refs microphone was not working in the arena. So we just didn't hear anything. We just saw him go like this. So we all thought it was because Baines maybe kicked it in or he got pushed in the goaltender, but then we saw the offside, the highlight there.
Yeah. His mic wasn't working on TV either, if that helps.
Okay.
You could just very easily read his lips that said that Carolina was challenging for offside. And then they showed that one angle on the blue line. It was pretty clearly offside. That extra move on the blue line will kill you. That was a nice play by Sprong, but that one gets taken back, which sucks. It would have been nice to see Baines scoring back-to-backs. But alas.
Yeah, and Diwali night too. Like it was just all set up there. His parents were in the building. By the way, you watched it live, right? Did Carolina call a timeout, and that was kind of smart to give them a bit of extra time to review it, or that has nothing to do with anything, or that's exactly why they did?
Absolutely what they did. Yep.
Yeah.
And they mentioned on the broadcast too. It was definitely a set take the 15 seconds, because I think you get 15 or 20 seconds to challenge. Take most of that time, then they call the timeout. I didn't know that you could do that. I thought that was sort of against maybe the spirit of like the challenge timer, because I thought it was like, hey, I didn't think it was you have till the puck drop. I think you have this set amount of time and then it's over. But apparently the timeout does extend that, which I think is, I mean, I guess it costs you your timeout, so maybe there is, maybe that is reasonable.
True.
But give your video coach the extra chance to get the right angle.
It's kind of like when you're in a hockey pool or when you have the 2 picks in a row and you make your first pick really quick and then you think you get the time save for your second pick. That's kind of my analogy, if that makes sense. But sorry, that was weak.
No, that's fair. Second period, really again starts Carolina's way. They score 2 minutes in, which it's a bit of a backbreaker coming out of the intermission. Again, it's such a quick play, right? The puck is in the Carolina zone, and 6 seconds later, it's in the Canucks net, right? It's a break in. It's 3-on-2. Both D just sort of get turned around, or I guess DeBrusk is one of the guys back. Not a banner game from DeBrusk tonight overall, but DeBrusk sort of comes into the middle. The pass goes to the side, and it's him and Hronek, 2 guys who struggle to break passes up. I mean, I think we saw that last year in the playoffs from Hronek quite a bit, where passes seem to get through him quite often. That one goes right between his stick and his skate blade. It's a great sharp angle goal from Roslovic, but you got 2 guys there to break that pass up, and it just has to happen.
I agree with you. There's a point, Parker, where Burns I thought was too deep. Once you got past the circles, I thought, okay, maybe the Canucks are going to escape this unscathed. But you're right. He makes that pass. Yeah, I don't know if I didn't see the replay. Did DeBrusk get a chance? I know Hronek definitely had a chance to get his stick on that puck, but both of the guys missed it. You're right.
And then Carolina gets 2 power plays here. There's a Svechnikov gets called for interference. Canucks do nothing on the power play. That was their first of 3 power plays in which they did essentially nothing. The third one was okay, but the first 2 power plays were atrocious. So momentum stays in Carolina's favor. Then Myers gets a high sticking penalty, and then a minute 19 later, Suter trips Natchez. So it is a 41-second 5-on-3. And it was a pretty good kill from the Canucks. With the 3 guys out there, they got a clear. They kept their structure. Myers was able to get back into the play. And that's always so stressful because you hear the goalie tapping the stick and then you see the clock once it hit, and the goalie starts tapping it 8 seconds before the penalty ends, right?
Yes.
And then the clock hits 0. And you're just waiting, looking at the bottom of the screen, come on, get in there. He's not there yet, because second period, it's a long skate from that far penalty box, right? So you're waiting. It's an extra, it's a good extra, 5 seconds before that player's making an actual impact on the play. Yep. So, that was a stressful time, but the Canucks kill that off. Then they kill off the second power play as well, the 5-on-4. And that's really the turning point of this game. We see it happen a lot. It's quite common that 5-on-3 that happens in the middle of a game is the decider of that game, right? Because Carolina scores a goal there and it's effectively over, right? 4-1. The Canucks could come back from it, but the odds get really, really tough there. But when the team kills it, it usually gives them a bit of life. And the Canucks really came on in the second half of that second period. They started playing their game, which they really didn't have any of for the first 30 minutes. Obviously, they don't score in the second period, which was kind of frustrating. They couldn't get one to go. They had some chances, but definitely a turning point in this game.
Yeah, and I love your point, Parker, because we've talked about this before about watching on TV, waiting for that guy coming out of the penalty box. How about if you're watching live and you're watching Myers get out the door and just bust it? That's Tyler Myers' scale busting it. So yes, it felt like 20 seconds, but by the time he got back into the zone, he breaks it up. And then remember, when Suter gets out, they spring him. They spring him for that breakaway. Imagine that. Not only you kill off a 5-on-3, but then you score to bring the game within 1. That would have brought the roof off the place for sure. But Suter,
that Suter stretch pass is tough because it wasn't the perfect pass, right? And it was tough because obviously those guys got to get it through. But when Suter comes out of the box, really you want him, because again it's the far blue line that he's coming out on, right? You want him to essentially skate in a straight line out, so that way you can send him and he can have that speed carrying into the zone. But the pass comes close to the penalty box to the point where he sort of has to stop, receive the pass, turn around, and now there's guys on him. He doesn't have the speed to go in and make a move.
Correct.
And it's a shot it's a decent shot, but it was pretty easy for Kochetkov to make that save.
Yeah. No, you're great point. He had to start from scratch, but he was able to make up for it later in the third, which was pretty good.
So third period, again, Canucks continue to be maybe not the better team, but they were much more in this game. And the third period was a lot more open. It was fast paced. It was exciting. I don't think there was a whistle for the first like 6-7 minutes. It felt like,
Yeah.
which in one hand it's like, build momentum, but on the other hand it's like, man, it feels like time's running quick when you're down 2 goals. But they finally break through. This is just a good play on a zone entry. It's how Carolina was making plays all game. It's not like it's an odd man rush or anything. It's sort of a 1-on-3 into the offensive zone. And then, Besser and I guess DeBrusque on the far side catch up, but Miller just drops it back. I don't know why there's 2 Carolina players going into the corner following JT Miller. And they both of them are deep in the zone. That gives Besser time to stop, play it back to Hughes, who has a bit of space. When Hughes' shot's pretty good. He's got a pretty good shot. It's perfectly placed. It is pretty tight to the goalie, but it's 18 inches off the ice, so it's going to be above the pad. It's literally perfectly placed, 93 miles an hour.
Wow.
It's a perfect shot, frankly, and it's his second of the year.
Thank you, Jay, by the way, for joining Canucks After Dark as a member. We appreciate you. This goal is very similar, Parker. You remember in the Canucks playoff series against the Oilers where Hoglander gained the zone? There's that part of that really good comeback in game 1. Hoglander gained zone, turned around and left it, just kind of put it back, left it for Zadorov on a tee. And he puts it. The Canucks really like this play down the left side. But you're right. I'm looking at the goal simulation, this beautiful thing. Yeah, I don't know who 80-80 was. I don't know what he was doing, why he didn't go and check Besser, but that was a great play. And in the arena, I don't know what it felt like on TV. In the arena, it's easy to say now, but it felt like we were going to tie the game. It really did. Like this was pretty exciting for sure. Great shot.
The momentum shift was so prevalent. And I also noticed, I think on Sportsnet today, they had the game audio turned up a little bit because I noticed whenever they were announcing, whenever Al Murdoch was announcing the goals, you almost couldn't hear Shorty anymore.
Wow.
Which was kind of neat. So it was you could definitely feel the crowd building on all those plays.
Awesome.
And you could tell like in that second period, especially after that 5-on-3 and even late into the period where they had a couple of chances, it was like if they score, like this place is gonna go crazy and it's gonna feel like they're gonna tie it. And it did. That goal, there's still 12 minutes left, right? And this, other Canucks teams, maybe we don't have this thought, but this is a team that, you think back to game 1 against Nashville last year. You think to Pittsburgh a couple nights ago, right? Like this is a team that can score in bunches and can come back on you quick. And they kept their foot on the gas. There was some sloppy stuff going the other way. They, the Carolina had a few chances to put this one away. Kevin Lankinen with the blocker save going to his right was unbelievable on that 2-on-1. He made a couple huge right pad saves in the second period that kept them in it. Lankinen was fantastic again tonight. And then it all culminates with about 3 minutes to go where Kochetkov continues his aggressiveness. It's the puck's, sent on a sort of breakaway to Sprong. He's not able to catch up to it. So Kochetkov tries to Hasek him and fully, slide out, and he gets a piece of it. Sprong quick to stop, gets to the puck. I was kind of surprised he didn't just try to pull it to the forehand and shoot it from this impossibly sharp angle. To be fair, if he was able to turn his hips a little bit more, he probably could have, because Chatfield wasn't really covering the net itself. He was more so covering a pass to nobody. But he does play it far side to Suter, and Kochetkov gets a piece of it with his stick too, and it gets all the way to Suter. And he just fires it through and finds the open net before Kochetkov can get back. So it was a sweet goal for Suter, who obviously had a couple of chances earlier. It was a big one for the Canucks.
And I tweeted about this, Parker, at the game. Right before that, the Carolina Hurricanes dumped the puck in the Canucks zone, and the Canucks all froze. They thought it was going to be icing. We all thought it was going to be icing. And they even put their hands up. Yeah, I agree. And then Carolina actually took possession for about 15 seconds or so. So we're like, oh my gosh, if they score, not only is the game over, but we're going to be bloody mad, right? But yeah, you're right. Then Sprong makes it. And it was so crazy because, not only did Kochetkov come past the faceoff circles on his way back, it deflected off him or someone. And then it was just a weird sequence, but we didn't care. We were too busy high-fiving each other and hugging each other.
Yeah, that non-icing was crazy because it was a clear from essentially Carolina's goal line. It got tipped by a Carolina player past the Canucks defender, and it was kind of like between the Canucks defender's stick and his skates. So you think, oh, he can play it, but it had just been redirected, And usually that would count as not playable and it would be icing. But the one ref did immediately, or the one linesman did immediately wave it off. The problem is Lankinen didn't see that. And Lankinen put his hand up, so Hughes thought it was icing. And that caused all the confusion, and that's sort of what led to the turnover. So it was just a bunch of miscommunication all around.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for clear. Well, that's good. I'm glad one of us is watching TV and can see these things. I'm just like, what's going on? Where's Crazy P? Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah,
but yes,
start hearing drums in your ear, and you feel the tinnitus as you just building.
So, needless to say, in the arena, it was a great time, and going into, so we secure the points, and we know that we're going to be at least either 4 games over 500 if we'd win, or stay 3 over 500 if we lose. And then you're right, we didn't touch the puck in overtime, did we?
Nope, sure didn't. So the Canes went with the strategy of putting their best face-off guy out with 2 defensemen. And a defensive center install. And I kind of like that play, because if you lose the face-off, you've got your 3 best defenders out there pretty well, right? If you win the face-off, hey, go take 2 of the guys off, the defensive defenseman and your defensive center, put 2 forwards on, and now you have, because if you win the face-off, you just get possession, right? And you get time. I think that was really savvy from Rod Brindamore, and a pretty smart play. And I'd like to see the Canucks do that, right? Put JT Miller out there for the face-off with Hughes and whoever else you want, right? Throw Hronik out there, I guess, for the face-off, or even Myers or something along those lines. And then if you win the face-off, great. Send that defenseman off and put Besser on, right? Because otherwise, you got too much forward firepower, and it sort of leads to that confusion. So yeah, Carolina just controls the puck the entire overtime. And it gets to the point where they come into the Canucks zone, and sort of all 3 of the Canucks collapse. Natchez turns around, and the Canucks just got sort of lazy on this play, right? JT Miller, I don't know where he's going. Frankly, because Hughes is taking that route on the far circle to come up and play the D-man who's coming in for the shot. Miller has to take the guy who's going to the net by himself, but instead Miller tries to, I guess, play the passing lane and just misses it. And now you have the best Hurricanes player alone in front, skating the opposite way that the goalie's moving. And look, it's the easiest goal to score, frankly. Like if you're skating across the net and someone passes it to you from the other side, the goalie is gone the other way, and you just have to possess it and tap it in. It's so easy that Aho's never going to mess that up because he has that much time, taps into the open net. You just can't make that mistake in overtime.
So this is going to completely validate what you just said. So the game ends. We're kind of disappointed. We're not sure if we actually deserved the point, considering how we played the first 40 minutes. So then I'm hustling to my car to get to the office, and then my group chat from my hockey pool, and then the first message was, "That was a heck of a float there by Miller," is the first thing that the guy said. Yeah,
it was.
And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you about it." Yeah, not good.
Yeah, and it it sucks because they were sort of stuck out there for the whole overtime, and they never touched the puck. But yeah, it's just that's all overtime is really, right? It's possess the puck until the other team makes a big enough mistake that you can take advantage of and get a high danger chance, right?
Yeah.
You never shoot it unless you absolutely have to, or you'll get possession after. And that's what they did. They played it perfectly, and the Canucks didn't.
Yeah, I'm looking at one of these stat cards or thing. I don't know if it's JFresh or what. It's the one where it goes bars this way, bars this way. Better than average offense, better than average defense. I don't know how to read these things. I do know that Brock Besser, JT Miller, and Eric Brandstrom and Quinn Hughes were the top 4, and I knew that Connor Garland, Pedersen, Susie, and Desharnais were in the bottom 4. I don't even know how to read this thing.
Yeah, it's interesting. So these are analytical impact on the game. Game by game, it's not like, I think over time they're good. I think it's tough game by game because just using natural stat trick data.
Sure.
Looking at this, Besser, Miller were good tonight. Jake DeBrusk is pretty high up here. I don't think he had a very good game.
Me neither.
I agree with Vincent Desharnais being at the bottom. He made a couple mistakes. He had one great hit in the corner, but he made quite a few mistakes. the defense needs to get something sorted out here, because
Yeah.
when you have Hughes dominating as he does,
Yeah.
and then you have essentially 33 minutes a night that the Canucks are getting shelled, it's just not going to work long term, right? They need
Yeah.
to sort something out. Soucy has not been as good as he's been, as he was last year.
Yes.
Desharnais hasn't looked great.
Yeah.
I've liked Eric Brandstrom a lot, frankly.
Oh yeah.
He's been really good compared to,
Yeah.
compared to Desharnais. And I think he's starting to get the ice time to show. I don't know how much he played tonight.
15. Yeah.
15. I think, I know you don't want to give him more,
Yeah.
especially, but in a game that they were trailing, I could have seen it, right? Like Myers played 21 minutes, Hronek played 21 minutes, Soucy played 20 minutes almost, to the point where you notice Desharnais is the low minute guy at 12:30, and Hughes played 26. Brandstrom. I think Brandstrom gets more time. I think you can take a little bit away from Myers has been good, Soucy just hasn't really been. But I why not? Brandstrom can play the right side, right? That's what he can do. Throw him up on pair two.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. I was going to say, I'm smelling what you're cooking, and then I don't smell it anymore. But seeing him play against Pittsburgh and then tonight, he was quite noticeable. Like because he's a great skater. You can call him Quinn Hughes light or whatever. Like he was good, but like there's one sequence in the third, I think, back-to-back plays where he did an amazing play in his back end to get out, and then he gets over the blue line, then he turns it over. Then he gets the puck and he makes an amazing play, and then he turns it over. I would thought you were going to say put him on the right side. Yes, I agree. And then bring Derek Forbort back in. We did find out confirmation that was the death of his father, which is very sad. Maybe you take Desharnais out and you try Forbort left, Brandstrom right. Or do you think put him on the second pair already with Soucy?
You can do that too. The thing is, actually, at that point, I'd say just leave him on the left and knock Soucy down for a game or two, right? Like I wouldn't hate Brandstrom Myers together for a game, right?
Yep.
See how they gel together. Because just Soucy's been struggling, and I think getting Brandstrom a little more ice time can't really hurt. And then at that point, it sort of does hold Forbort out of the lineup, right?
Right.
Because you're obviously, I don't think you're putting Forbort on the right. Although I guess you could, because then you have Soucy Forbort as your bottom pair doesn't work because you have two lefties and neither of them play right. So at that point, you're sort of limited. But you could definitely do that, right? You could, pop Desharnais out, move Brandstrom over, bring Forbort up into the lineup. That wouldn't be the worst. You also do have Juleson as an option as well.
You do.
You could pull him on the right side if you want to leave Brandstrom on the left. So there's some shuffling that they can do, right?
Yeah.
They sort of right now have two very good defensemen. Myers has been decent, and then Soucy, Desharnais, Forbort, Juleson have all left something to be desired to start the season.
And is it a no-brainer or probably leaning towards Shelov's getting the start? Not an indictment at all of Lankin's play, but now is a natural time. It's been 5 straight games. The latest one a loss, even though obviously not his fault. But maybe do you run Shelov's against technically a New Jersey Devils team that's not as good as this Carolina Hurricanes team?
It's tough. Yeah, you can't. Obviously, Lankinen can't play every game, right? Yeah. Does he deserve to at this point? Yeah, he's been very, very good. But you do have to get Shelov's in at some point, just so Lankinen gets the rest. Now, if it was solely from a Lankinen rest perspective, then there's no need.
Okay.
Canucks play Wednesday.
Yep.
So 2 days from now. Then they get 2 days off and play Saturday. Then they get 2 days off and play Tuesday. So they do have, the Canucks only play 2 games before our next show, right? Like they
that's true.
They're only playing twice in the next week. So if they wanted to play Lankinen, they absolutely could. But I imagine they want to get Shelov's in. Now they could get crazy and send Shelov's down and pull Patera up so that Shelov's can play games in the AHL just to get playing time or do something. I don't see it. Now just looking at the schedule though, it's like I'd rather have Shelov's in for the Sharks or the Ducks than the Devils.
It's San Jose, exactly. You could run them with San Jose and Anaheim. Yep.
But then we're getting to 6 games. It's like, Shelov's one who played for like 3 weeks or like 2.5 weeks or something like that. Like it is tough, but that Devils game, like, it's not like it's critical, right? It's like importance wise, it's not the most important game they're going to play this year. The Devils are at the top of the Metro solely because they've played 4 more games than everyone else.
Yes.
But the Devils they're not bad, right?
No,
Like
they're
they're
fine.
supposed to be not a contender, but like a sneaky dark horse this year.
Mhm.
To the point where, yeah, I'd be, you know, she loves is concerning me a little to start the year. And Lankinen's been obviously a wall, relatively, but it's an Eastern Conference opponent. Games don't matter that much. What you need Lankinen for and to be ready for is that stretch of Kings, Oilers, Flames, right?
Yeah.
A week and a half from now, Thursday the
Yeah.
7th, Saturday the 9th, Flames on the 12th. 3 divisional games in a row against teams that,
Yeah.
could be in the mix come playoff time. Obviously, the Flames have come back down to earth, and I think they'll stay at
Yes.
earth. But the Kings are good, and the
Yeah.
Oilers. We don't know about McDavid. He got hurt tonight.
I know.
But obviously the Oilers are going to be in the mix come April as well.
My gut feeling is Parker Shilovs plays on Wednesday against the Devils.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the Devils. It's Markstrom and Allen, and they're not ripping up. Markstrom, 8 games, 895 save percentage and 301 goals against.
Yeah. Yeah. The Devils aren't fantastic.
No.
They're a very loose team, right? They're allowing more than 3 goals. They're scoring almost 4 goals a game. They're allowing more than 3 goals a game. Like they're very, it's some high event hockey coming out of New Jersey.
Oh, for sure. Now, wow, we've gone half an hour in one game, which makes sense because it finished an hour ago. You want to go quickly through the other 2?
Sure. Yeah. We can go just in reverse order.
Sure.
While we're going back in time. So we'll go back to Saturday. I missed what sucks is I missed all 4 of the Canucks goals.
Oh,
I had a hockey game at 9:00, and my plan was great. I drive to hockey at the first intermission. I get there an hour early, but I can watch the game in the dressing room.
yes.
But I left late because I wasn't ready to go. And then the Canucks already scored, they scored 3 goals in a minute 5. And that was as I was getting to the rink. And then I watched the Baines goal live in the car in the parking lot. But we can rewind. It starts in the first period with an Anthony Beauvillier goal on Rogers Arena ice, something that we haven't seen very often. But I don't remember anything about this goal, frankly.
Oh, Garland sunk down too deep, and then the puck, Malkin got it back to Pettersson at the point, who shot it. Beauvillier did a nice tip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice goal. Not much Lankinen can do on that one.
Yep.
Shots 12-7 in the first, though. Canucks were the better team this whole game, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then, Rust scores 2 minutes into the second on that wraparound, where he just sort of, gets the rebound behind the net, rips it around. Lankinen's not tight enough to the post, and it sneaks through.
Yeah. A rare misplay by Lankinen. He didn't look good on that goal. That's for sure.
But then the Canucks come alive, and it starts with Elias Pettersson being Elias Pettersson a little bit. Garland, so good behind the net, creates some space in open ice. Pettersson just sneaks his way in. He is completely uncovered, perfectly placed shot, which was great to hear. I say hear because I couldn't watch it. And then, or I guess, do you want to say anything about that? About Pettersson
just really
one?
it was great that he got one. It doesn't matter if it came right after the scuffle with JT Miller. But I'm not sure if you're watching the goal simulation or the highlight. Whatever you watch, Crosby makes a really weird play. He's on Petey off the faceoff, and then Crosby inexplicably goes towards the front of the net, and that's why Petey was so open. It was really weird.
Yeah, it's weird. So Pittsburgh blew the zone here, right? Like they tried to get out. I don't know who 10 is, but I'm looking at the at the simulation there, and Myers with a good pinch to hold the line, and then Crosby goes to cover the net because. I mean, it's not the worst idea because in theory, one of the Pittsburgh wingers should be on Pettersson, being the other, because Pettersson's technically the point man right now, and the other one should be on Soucy. But everyone just sort of drifts towards the net and gets lost. And, it looks like, I guess it's 67, tries to get back in there, Raquel, but just couldn't. And a great shot from Pettersson.
Yep. Happy for him. And then I even put this on Twitter as I'm filming, Parker, because it's the first goal of the season for PD. As I'm filming the goal announcement from Al Murdoch, Sherwood scores on that 2-on-1. It's beautiful. Beautiful thing.
Yeah. And again, this one I could feel coming. Again, couldn't see it. So The way I do it is I'm driving to hockey. I've got my phone plugged in for sound, and then I'm using the
Yep.
Shaw TV app, whatever. So I'm
Yeah.
listening to the TV broadcast, and then technically it's on my phone, but it's like on the seat over there. So I'm
Right.
listening, and I hear Shorty's cadence twist a little bit, and I hear him build up a little bit when Bluger gets the puck starting to go in, and
Yeah.
I'm driving. I'm like, they're scoring again. I just knew it, and
Yeah.
then yeah, Bluger goes in on that 2-on-1.
Yeah.
Great saucer pass right over the blade of the defender's stick. Sherwood fires it in immediately. High kicks, which is sweet.
Hmm.
And it's just like that. It's a tie game.
Love it. Love it. Heinen made a really nice back check, which he won't get credit for because it was actually Desharnais who poked the puck up to Bluger, Sherwood, to start the give and go with Bluger. Yeah, great play. My hot take, Parker, I've said this before, not only is Sherwood going to be unsung hero, I could see him in our top 6 for a spell. If someone goes dry, I think he's that talented. I really do.
He's a problem out there. Like like genuinely, so he had, how many hits did he have in the first game against Chicago? He had what, 9 against Chicago? No, he had 12 against Chicago.
Yeah.
He had, I think, another 10 against Pittsburgh, 9 against Pittsburgh. Only 6 against Pittsburgh. Sorry.
Yeah, he took
He
a
had
break.
another
Yeah.
9 tonight.
Yeah.
Like
He's a machine.
he's throwing the body around. And yeah, he can score. He's got 2 goals, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you love the celebration. It really did feel, it felt a lot like Nashville game 1 last
Yep.
year, right? Like the 2 quick goals, that the third line getting involved to make that happen. In this case, Bluger with Sherwood. And then the Canucks just kept it coming, because another handful of seconds later, like 22 seconds later or something along those lines, Pittsburgh turns it over, stretch pass, and the Canucks are 2-0 somehow. Or not 2-0, I guess Miller's by himself. I got the color wrong. But yeah, just a stretch pass to Miller, who's kind of just floating at center ice, goes in, shots stopped, and then Miller sort of falls towards Nedeljkovic, and I don't understand where this puck got any momentum from.
So you know what happened?
Shoots through him.
Nedeljkovic batted it out of the air with this stick, and it hit Carlson and Miller and bounced off of them. It's so crazy.
Oh, yeah. I every time I watch this, I'm trying to figure out how the puck got so much momentum towards the net.
Yeah.
But Miller sort of just bowls it through. And the Canucks had 3 goals in a minute 5 to take this lead, and then 5 minutes later they score another one. And this is a great play. Daniel Sprong on a 2-on-1. Sprong just burns Erik Karlsson. Like, Erik Karlsson looked terrible here. Flat-footed. Sprong just absolutely burns him. Good foot speed. Goes for the shot instead of a pass, which I like here. The other option is you sort of fake shot, go backhand, and then slide it over.
Right.
But shot far pad, it was perfectly placed. You want it just right of the 5-hole, any more right, and it goes to the corner. So it goes right to Baines, who's crashing the net. Perfect position. Whoever is defending Baines needs to keep their feet moving, because like they are one stride behind him the whole way, and then immediately just goes for the stick work from 5 feet into the zone, and Baines kept his feet moving, got the separation, gets the rebound. That's just an effort goal.
Yeah, whoever number 13, I'm pretty sure it's not Nick Bonino, but I remember he used to wear 13 for Pittsburgh. But yes, that was great. And a really smart play by Sprong, not only to get past Carlson, who had a horrible game, but you're right that I didn't know this as a hockey guy, Parker. You might know this. They call it the PTP, the puck to pad, puck to pad shot. And it was brilliant. It was better than going in the chest or up high and missing the net. It was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was perfectly played. So the Canucks now have a 4-2 lead halfway through the game, basically exactly. And they said, "All right, we're good. You guys have fun. We'll sit back and we can kill 30 minutes up too." And Malkin scores the 1 goal with about 6 minutes to go. Which actually I haven't seen this goal yet because I was on the ice at this point.
Watch it.
Oh, this is a disaster.
It's weird. It's so weird. Crosby single-handedly took out 2 defensemen.
Crosby clips Desharnais, which that's tripping, right? I mean, he skates back. He skates into, again, I'm seeing this for the first time. I guess he did try to get around him, but he did clip him in the back.
So
Desharnais goes down, and then Malkin just goes in alone. Great move.
Yeah.
By Malkin. Took the net out. Probably didn't feel great. and he was
It was
hurt,
just a
but
it was just a weird play. Yeah, and then Hronik somehow fell and stumbled too. So Crosby's got magical powers.
yeah, just a mess. But the Canucks hang on.
Yeah,
That's what they do. That's how they've been playing the last year. That's Rick Tocchet style. Get the
yeah,
lead, sit on it. Not the most exciting. It's so stressful, frankly, for
yeah.
us. But it works more often than not. And the Canucks won that one.
You know what else is a mess, Parker? Is Pittsburgh's defense. So I was at this game too. They were so bad. They had so many turnovers in the neutral zone. Like they couldn't break the puck out. And yeah, Carlson got burned almost every time. It's kind of sad to see. Like obviously he's only a few seasons removed from that 100 plus point season with San Jose, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, he's got. I mean, yeah, he's 34, and he's definitely lost a
Mhm.
step the last couple of
Sure.
years, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like for sure. 101
yeah,
points with the Sharks 2 years ago, right?
yeah.
And then 56 last year on a much better Penguins team. Even
Crazy.
Letang's sort of coming down to earth, and Grzelcyk is fine, but Ryan Graves is a good defenseman. Then Jack St. Ivany, who I've never heard of before.
So it's like a soap or
playing,
something. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he played 15 minutes of that game, and
Yeah.
this Pittsburgh team's not very good. They're definitely on sort of the sunset of Crosby and Malkin and Carlson, and it's
Yeah.
just sort of that tough transitionary period that like Washington is in, for example, right?
Right,
It's
right,
very
right.
much the same thing.
Yeah, and probably for the sake of time, just so we can talk about some other stuff and get to people, we don't have to go through. There's 9 goals in the 6-3 win over Chicago. But do you remember anything about this game? I had this on when I was bowling because this was Tuesday night, right?
Yep. Heinen had a great game. He scored 2,
Right,
2
right.
quick ones early, which was great.
Yeah.
You had JT Miller scoring from an impossible angle, which was sweet.
Oh, that's right.
You have a nice Connor Garland goal. Great work from Pettersson in tight to get the puck to him. That was the 4-2 goal. Classic JT Miller to Brock Besser in front on the power play tip
Yep.
to make it 5-2.
Yeah.
And then Pius Suter scoring a wide open net at the end off of a weird deflection. Not
That's
at the
right.
end, but with 10 minutes to go or so. But yeah, this was the Canucks just beating a team that's worse than them.
Yeah, you got to win those games. Like, yeah, and they did, which is really, really good. Because that would be the third. Yeah, that was after being Florida and whatchamacallit, Philly. Right. This was the last game of their road trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So 4 straight wins, right? They start 0-1-2, which was fine, and then they win 4 in a row, which is great. They get up to 11 or 10 points in 7 games, which is great. 3 games over 500 that early, and now they are still 3 games over 500 through 8. Now we're 10 games into the season, or 8 games into the season. We're a tenth of the way through, which means they should be 30 games above 500 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Does that math work out?
Yep. They are on you're right. They're on a 112 point pace. 30 games over 500.
113.
113
I would
points. Yeah.
argue.
31. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not going to get 113 points.
No, probably not. I mean, they haven't faced super hard competition to start the year, right? Like if you look at the teams they've played, right? The Flyers twice. The Flyers are, not fantastic. They lost to the Flames in overtime. They've played Chicago and Pittsburgh, but the good teams that they've played, right? Which have really just been Florida and Carolina, if you really think about it, right? Like the teams that are expected to be really good this year. I mean, they played pretty good games and took them both to OT, right? Obviously, they beat the Panthers and they lost to the Hurricanes. Both of those tight games the whole way. This team's right on a very similar level to those two teams, right?
Yeah.
To the point where any night that they're going to play, in theory, a championship caliber team, they should be expected to hang with them. And anytime they play Chicago or San Jose or Anaheim or one of those bottom feeders, they should go out and handle business. Obviously, they won't every time, right? It's the NHL; it doesn't work that way. San Jose finally got their first win tonight against Utah, barely. They like looking at the next 3 games. Like the Canucks should win all 3, and like it shouldn't be that much of a question mark if this team is if they at least show up from minute 1, which has been a bit of a struggle.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. And then you look at the next, not only 3 games, Parker, you look at the next 3 weeks, you have your 3 California teams and then a 6 game homestand. And that homestand, it's half and half. Yes, you have Edmonton and the Rangers, but I would say the other 4 teams are beatable: Calgary, Islanders, Chicago, and Nashville. So let's say the Canucks lose to the Kings, for instance, or they take 2 out of 3. They should win 6 or 7, say even 6 of their next 9, even 7 of their next 9 to move another 5 games. So they should be 8 or 9 games over 500 by the time the middle of November hits, like after that homestand. Because
Yeah, like
we've talked about
American
this before.
Thanksgiving,
Yeah,
they should
yeah,
be. Which American Thanksgiving, usually the teams in playoff spots make the playoffs, right? By that time, they should be pretty handily in a playoff spot,
yeah,
which they are right now, right? You look at they overtook Calgary tonight.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Vegas is 4 points up, but 2 games. Canucks have 2 games in hand, but Vegas has been great. I mean, they have 47 goals already this year in 10 games. They're a problem. And then the Kings have 12 points in 9 games, while the Canucks have 11 and 8, so that's pretty equal.
Yep.
And then the Flames have 11 and 9, so the Canucks are above that. And I'm like, Sharks are cooked. Anaheim isn't going to do anything this year. Seattle is just, they're too average, right? They're going to get 90 points, probably something around there, and miss. And then, the Oilers are going to be the only real people that can come up from behind. And I don't know if there's any update on McDavid. Non-contact injury that looked like it was to his ankle.
Yeah. Didn't travel with the team to Nashville. He's going home. McDavid is, yeah.
Okay.
So they sent him home.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yes.
Because he just got clipped, and then Louis DeBrusque is on the broadcast being like, "Oh, it's an obvious trip," and he didn't even touch him. It's if McDavid's out for a long period of time, suddenly the division gets a little more open, right? There's a lot of question marks, and obviously you never want a player of his caliber to be out long, just from a sport perspective. But it could be, it could end up being an opportunity where, you got to win those games when you can, right? The Canucks play the Oilers in, 10 days, 11 days, something like that. Next Saturday, Hockey Night in Canada.
November 9, you got it.
That's going to be a big game. And if McDavid's not back for then, that's a game that the Canucks need to win.
Yeah. So I'll ask you one question or float one theory by you, and then we can take a couple questions from the people, and then boom, like we're already at 50 minutes, which is crazy. I think because these post-game ones go super fast because we spend a lot of good time deservedly on the game. Okay. So Dakota Joshua, non-contact jersey, contact jersey now. Great. So he's probably 1 or 2 weeks away. I think he's not going to play Wednesday. I do think he's going to see action on the road trip, but whatever. Whenever he gets back, do you automatically put him on a third line? Like, imagine a third line of Bluger, Sherwood, and Joshua. Amazing. Like, they would just smoke everyone. Or do you ease him in, like sit Baines or Sprong, get him on the fourth line, and let him work his way up? What do you do?
It's really tough.
Yeah.
I guess the assumption is you're leaving the top 2 lines the same.
Assumption,
which I think you have to. Garland is too valuable on that second line that I think you need him playing that time, right? The other option is you move Sprong up, Garland down, and then run Bluger and Joshua and Garland.
Yep. A good point.
But then you're changing a lot of variables. I could see them doing that after a loss, right? Then they're like, okay, let's throw everything in a blender and try something new. But if thinking of when Joshua's coming back into the lineup, it's like maybe it's after that Sharks game.
Right.
I hope the Canucks don't lose that Sharks game. So in that case, they're probably not trying to make huge changes. And I would say, maybe you just stick Joshua there and pull Sherwood down and then pull Baines out potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, Baines has played well, but I think I think out of the 12 that are in the lineup, I think he's probably the easiest to pull out.
Yeah.
So I don't hate the idea of even moving. It's a tough question because Joshua plays the left, right? So at that point, do you move Heinen down and then go Bluger, Joshua, Sherwood? I mean,
That's
Yeah,
what
what
you
a
do.
scary third line that is, right? Like you got Bluger just winning battles, then you have Joshua and Sherwood laying people out.
Bluger's
And
pretty
again,
nasty, man. If you ever watch him live, Bluger's pretty
he is.
chippy.
He
Yeah.
is, and he's been really good to start this season.
Yes.
A
Yeah.
very very good contract, and obviously Sherwood as well. Heinen hasn't stood out that much to me
Yeah.
so far. Obviously had the 2 goals the other night, but other than that, he hasn't been super visible. So I wouldn't hate the idea of essentially just bumping the 2 lefts down, right? Bumping Heinen down to the fourth, bumping Baines out, and then
Yeah.
you run Heinen, Suter, Sprong as your fourth.
Yeah.
And then you have obviously Bluger, Sherwood, Joshua, and I think that's a heck of a third line.
I'm with you. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Yeah. Okay, one more question for you, and then we'll get to people. You worried about DeBrusque? He was pretty bad tonight.
He was pretty bad tonight. Yeah.
Although he had that one good scoring chance. That one good scoring chance near the end of the game. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been pretty bad. It was pretty bad tonight. He hasn't been super visible. He hasn't scored yet. He's had a couple of chances, a little bit. But again, it's too early, right?
No.
If the team was 2-6, then I'd be like, okay, like DeBrusque, you got to step it up. Pettersson, you got to step it up. Team's 4-1-3, not the end of the world. Honestly, I was surprised to see him in overtime tonight. I would have put Garland over the boards first. I would have put Pettersson over the boards first. I would have put Höglander over the boards first. I might have put Bluger over the boards first. Over DeBrusque, the way that he's been playing currently. But I think there's a lot of time, of time to build some momentum. So I'm not gonna get too panicky yet.
Sure. You want to do 5 or 6 minutes of questions to round out the hour? Is that cool?
Let's do it, folks. Put your questions in the chat here. I'm gonna that Pettersson chance at the end of the third.
Yeah.
Was honestly, it looked kind of bad because he cut in and just put it into the goalie's pad because he waited too long. But like as I watched it, I was like, man, he made the right play because Kochetkov had been throwing that poke check out. He had been so aggressive all night, and we saw DeBrusque not wait for the poke check and stuff it right into his pad, and then Pettersson goes to do the same thing, and that time Kochetkov doesn't throw the poke. But if he did, Pettersson scores there.
Is that the one where Sveshnikov then drills Pettersson? Or is that the other one? Because Pettersson had 2. Okay.
I don't know. It was like last 2 minutes, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you fix the power play?
Man, it's tough. They're struggling to get set up. Like teams are playing them pretty aggressive, to the point where they're not setting up. Their last power play looked okay. They were gaining the zone pretty consistently, and they got cleared a couple times, but they were gaining the zone at least and with possession. Mm-hmm. How do you fix it though is tough. It's easy to say move around more and find more open lanes, but it's the entries that they're struggling with a little bit. Because usually they're doing a good job of getting across the blue line, and then it falls apart, right? It's that first or second pass that's getting tipped. Or they're just ringing it around and not able to get enough time with possession because they've got the guys with the hands, right? They just drop it to Pettersson essentially, or Besser sometimes, or Miller sometimes. Those guys are able to get into the zone, but then it's what they do with it, right? They're not being given a lot of time, and they're running into trouble. I don't know how you fix that. I don't know if it's just changing the entry a little bit to try to find a different angle, or maybe you try to enter with a little bit more speed and try to do like a bank pass off the end boards or something along those lines. It's tough, but I think once they're set up, they look fine. And frankly, statistically, they've been fine. I think they were like 22% going into tonight, which is totally fine. But it's the momentum that kills you when you have those power plays like the first couple tonight that were absolutely useless, and then Carolina can build off that the other way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Does Demko or Joshua, do any of them need a conditioning stint, or do you think that's what practice is for? What do you think?
I don't think so. Here's the thing with Demko, I could see it. I think it's a conditioning stint for a goalie makes sense because you're going to face game action, but lesser shooters, frankly.
Yeah.
Joshua, I don't think so. I think Joshua is good to just throw in NHL action, and I don't think they do that with Demko. I think they'll pull him in, and because I think the Canucks are going to be in a good enough spot by the time Demko gets back.
Yeah.
Because let's go with that 4 weeks from the beginning of the season. We don't know if that's still the case or whatever, but maybe that sets him up nicely for a Blackhawks game on November 16th, right?
Mm,
Or maybe it's a week later and it sets him up for the Senators on November 23rd. Or maybe
right,
it's a week
right.
later and sets him up for the Penguins or the Sabres the week after, right? Like there's these games that you can try to get him into that you can probably play a style of hockey where they only get like 22 shots, right? And so I think that's like they're not going to throw him in against the Rangers. They're not going to throw him in against the Oilers. But if you're getting a Columbus or a Buffalo or an Ottawa or a Chicago, those are games that that can be the first one that Demko hits, and then you give him a game off after that and see how he's doing.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. Obviously, Irvin doesn't care about my opinion. He says, Parker, why did Jalen Chatfield not pan out in Vancouver?
I mean, well, he was undrafted, right? Like
Yeah.
he was never a high profile player. He played 3 years in Utica, right? That's, and then he played 18 games for Vancouver, then went to the AHL for another year. Like he was 4-year AHL veteran essentially. That's most of those players don't make it. He probably just worked really hard to be better. It's one of those things, you can be a late bloomer. He's not the biggest guy. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. So yeah, I think it's probably just effort. But it's not one of those ones where you can be like, oh, can you believe we gave up this guy? It's like, well, yeah, there's a ton of these guys come around and usually they don't pan out, right?
Exactly. I think he's kind of like, you could say the same thing about what Jules, or maybe no, he's a bit better than Jules, but maybe kind of like Brandstrom to take toils around minor leagues, doesn't really until he gets a really good chance to flourish. But I think every team, is your point, every team has like a guy like that or two. This was interesting. Hoglander got shifted to the fourth line. Baines got moved up to the wing with PD and Garland for the third period. What'd you think of that move?
I understand it from trying to get a spark, trying to get something changed. Baines isn't as good on the walls as Hoglander is. Hoglander is really good in tight spaces. And I noticed right away on that shift that he lost a puck battle. And I think the Canucks got the puck back shortly after, but it was one of those ones where it was like Garland doesn't lose that puck battle and Hoglander probably doesn't either. And you lose possession because of that.
Right.
But you're also, it's a kid who scored last game and he scored tonight and it didn't count, right? Because of an offside. That's, he still scored, frankly, right? Like he did his part. So you put a guy with a hot hand in where Hoglander doesn't necessarily have that hot hand right now. So yeah, I see why. Again, you're trying to get a little spark, but I don't think it's better in that case.
Yeah. This Sprong's a righty, right? So it looks nice on paper, but they wouldn't do this because you wouldn't have two righties. Likely not.
Yeah. Sprong's Russian, right? Am I crazy?
No. Another European country.
That doesn't help me. Puckpedia doesn't say. Why doesn't Puckpedia say nationality?
But I hear what you're saying is
Netherlands is not what I would have guessed.
Some of those Russian right-handers,
Russians like to flip opposite side wing, right? So in that case, I could see them throwing him to the other side. Puckpedia has him listed as he's played both in the past.
Okay.
So I guess you could, but yeah, I mean, it's really the only spot that you'd want to slot him into in the top 6 right now, right? Is that DeBrusk spot. So yeah, it's I could see it. Again, you try to get some offense, and that goal that Sprong set up last game, right? That was him coming down the left wing. That shot that Baines put the rebound in on, right? So he can probably play that side. He made a nice move to that side and burned Erik Karlsson.
That's true. And then he made his really cool move on the right side tonight when he outweighted Kochetkov. Last question, well, both related. Justin says, at what point do we worry about PD? Miller needs to fight him every practice. And then Liam says, all hate aside and noise from fans and media, when do you start to get concerned about Pettersson's long-term play?
Oh, we're concerned, I think. And I said for most of last year that I wasn't going to be too concerned until the playoffs, and the playoffs came and went, and he wasn't fantastic.
Right.
And then, you come into this season and you think, great, he had the whole off season to figure it out, and that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
The shot's still there. We saw it last game. Nice goal. He had a couple flashes tonight, but there needs to be more than flashes, right? It needs to be like, he needs to be a game breaker. He needs that swagger back. That, like, you know, he does that when he didn't care and he was coming in ripping clappers down the wing and just trying to make guys look silly. Like, he doesn't do that anymore. You know, I feel like he's grown up too much, and that's a problem. He needs to, you know, he needs to be a bit more of an idiot out there, I think.
Right.
And I don't know if that's a Rick Tocchet coaching style thing, and that's holding him back in some way. But you know, it's something that has to be figured out. Now, again, I think tonight he was fine. I think last game he was pretty good. You know, there's something to build off of here. It's just whether or not he actually does it.
Yeah. We all want him to succeed. Like, I don't think there's one single Canuck fan that doesn't want him to succeed. Contract notwithstanding, but yes, he is we keep hearing he's one of the top 5 players, paid players in the league. So he's got to start producing like it. Yeah, I've always said give him a few games. Now, I don't know, Parker. I never said what the magic number of games was. Now we're at 8. Do we worry at 10, at 12? But up until tonight, I thought he was making incremental progress. I wouldn't say it was a step backwards, but it was certainly a step sideways tonight because he did have, I counted 3 good chances, actually. There was that one in the second where he kind of dragged it and late and tried to catch Kochetkov sleeping, and then the 2 net front rushes. But it's a bottom line business, obviously, and he's still stuck on 4 points or whatever in 8 games now. So 41-point pace isn't going to cut it.
Yeah. Yeah, he just needs to convert on a couple of those, and it's a different story.
You're right. Yeah.
But, yeah, he also needs to create more, right?
Sure.
And it's tough, especially when the guy on his right wing has been the team's best player to start the season, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe Lankinen aside, right? And, you know, Sherwood's throwing a lot of hits, but Connor Garland has been the lifeblood of this team to start this season. And you need some production, right? Connor Garland's got a point a game, and Pettersson has what, 4 points?
4 and 8.
You got to produce.
Yeah, you're right. We always produce, though, like tonight.
Absolutely.
That was good. That was a good show tonight. Fast. That was fast. I don't know what it felt like you guys watching it, but it felt fast for us. I know that.
Yeah, for sure. To the 400 plus of you in here, thank you all for joining us on both the Twitter side and the YouTube side. If you missed any part of the show, feel free to rewind here on YouTube. You can also find it on your favorite podcast platform, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Just type in Canucks After Dark. You'll find it. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit like if you're here on the YouTube side, because I noticed a lot of you haven't, so hit that button. Clay, any parting words this evening?
Yeah, Parker, it's a classic glass half full, glass half empty. Glass half full, they battled back to get a point maybe they didn't deserve. They are still 3 games over 500 on a 113-point pace. But after a night like tonight, you just feel like probably they didn't deserve to win. And there's enough questions around the team where they're not hitting their stride yet. So the fact that they're doing so well without hitting their stride, good thing overall. So I'm not satisfied, that's the wrong word, but I'm content. And it's the start of a season. We're only, as you said, 10% through now. So a lot of hockey to be played, a lot of shows, a lot of content to create for sure.
Absolutely. I don't know why my camera is now super choppy, but that's how we'll wrap up the show, folks. Thank you all for joining. Like I said, if you missed any part, you can find it on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. Have a good night, everyone, and we will see you next Monday.